Hey guys, it's me, JHJJHG2, and today I'm going to show you how to edit your doll photos. I am not the best at editing, but I definitely know some tips and tricks that will help you out. Today we'll be using a combination of Picmonkey, and it's a free online website that lets you edit your photos and all of that, but I do have their premium Picmonkey royalty membership, so a lot of the features I'll be using for this tutorial will have their features, but it's getting royalty is totally worth it because I use it a lot in my photos, and so if you like the results of this, then I definitely would go check out Picmonkey's membership and all of that. We'll also be using some of the features built into Instagram, and yeah, so let's get started. Basically what we're going to be doing is we're just going to brighten up the photo, make the colors nicer, and kind of improve this grainy look that the photos have. And first we're going to crop down this photo, and yeah, just going to try to figure out a good kind of happy medium with this photo. That looks good to me. And now we're going to go over to the exposure, and I like to bring up brightness a little bit, but if you go too far it kind of grays or just brighten out that photo, so you want to be very careful when bringing up brightness. I only like to bring it up by 2 or 3. However, I do like to bring up highlights a lot more. It makes your whites whiter and all of that, and it just really brings some more life and vibrancy into the photo. We can also play around with shadows. We can darken it, or we can, lighten that up, but don't want to go too far up with shadows, or else, you'll get a more gray kind of tone. So we can deepen our shadows a little bit. There we go. And then contrast, and play around with that, bring up the contrast a bit. Alright, so now we have colors. We can play around with the saturation or the temperature. Depending on which way you go, you can make the photo more warm or more cool, or make it less saturated or more saturated. But I don't really like to use those features on Picmonkey. I like to play around with those on Instagram. So we're going to go and we're going to move down to the touch-ups. I don't do much with the effects on Picmonkey unless I want to add some bokeh. Then I'll add that, but this is not the type of photo I want to add that to. Anyways, we're going to work on this grain. Yikes. It's pretty bad. When I'm working with grain, I usually just work on the skin to make the skin look nicer of my photos. So we're going to use the wrinkle remover, which is a Picmonkey royalty feature. So we basically just zoom in on the photo, and you just go nuts with all of the grainy kind of areas. Still some grain. You won't be able to remove all of the grain from your doll's skin, but it definitely helps out a lot. So I'm gonna go and do that, and I'll check back in with you guys. Alright, now that I did that, you can see that the grain is much better on her skin. It's still, if you zoom in far, you can still see it, but nobody's going to be zooming that far into your photo, and from a distance it looks pretty good. So now we're going to just click apply on that, and we're going to brighten up this photo in all of the colors. So I like to use the handy dandy eye brighten tool, which is a Picmonkey royalty feature, and we're just going to go over our doll's eyes and brighten them up. Yes, this darkens them, makes them almost black, but now we're going to adjust the lighting feature, and I'm just going to bring those up. See? So yes, they certainly did brighten up those eyes, and now they're much more vibrant. Now sometimes I like to use the eye brighten tool, and I like to go over other areas that I want to stand out a bit more. Alright, now we're going to go over to the mascara tool, and again, this helps just make things stick out more. It kind of makes the darks more dark, and yeah, I like to do this especially with the hair. It makes hair look a little less blurry and more in focused in case you have an issue with making your hair look sharp and just crisp. And again, this is just personally how I like to edit my photos. I know some people like how I edit photos, whereas other people might not. But if you like how I edit photos, then this could definitely help you out. So, this is it for the Picmonkey part of this tutorial. If you want, you could always go and add a filter and play around with their many effects. And they have plenty of free features and stuff. You can add text if you want to. They have a lot of nice text. A lot of it is royalty, but a lot of it is also available for free. They have textures and all of that fun stuff. So even if you can't pay for the features that I use, I would definitely check out Picmonkey. Before we move on to Instagram effects, let's do a quick before and after. So you can see a lot of changes have been made. You may not like some of them, or you may like them. I might have went a little overkill on the brightening and darkening of colors, but Instagram can help fix all of that. But yes, you can see her face is a lot smoother and all of that, and that's just personally how I edit photos. Now we save your photo. There's little, you can't see it, but there's a button at the top that says save. You click save, and then I like to save all my images as a PNG, so they're full quality, and then I usually like to change the name to this to whatever the photo's called, and then edit. But you can rename the photo or file to whatever you wish. Then in order to get your image onto your phone, I go through Facebook and I message myself the image, or you could email yourself the image, whatever way works for you to get your image onto your mobile device. Once you do that, if you like to have a white border on your images, I like to use a editor called InstaSquare, and through InstaSquare it's very easy. Upload your photo and it will add a white border to your image. Alright, now we're on Instagram, and this is definitely not the best quality. The ideal situation would be to have a screen recorder, but I do not. So we're going to go down to edit, and this is super blurry, but we're going to play around with the brightness. This is where we can really play around with the brightness. I prefer Instagram's brightness settings more than Instagram. And we can go into saturation and bring up and down the saturation. We can bring that down a bit. And this is horribly blurry. I am so sorry about that. Setting, which is over here, and we can just, I like to bring up the sharpness of my images quite a bit. And I will have a full resolution image of this, the full resolution image of this shown on the screen, so you guys can really get a better look of how things go. We can bring up the brightness, and then I like to make it a bit faded looking. Bring that about to 42. And I think we have a good photo, so you can just play around with these settings however you wish. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial on how to edit photos. I'll have the full quality photo displayed down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment, rate, like, subscribe if you did. It's always appreciated, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!